The teacup slipped from Amira's trembling hands, shattering on the tiled floor of her Lagos apartment. The sharp sound echoed through the silence like a cruel reminder of the moment her heart cracked. She didn't flinch at the mess. Her body trembled not from the broken china, but from the voices bleeding through the thin wall. Every word clawed at her chest, tearing it open with betrayal. It was her fiancé, Daniel, and her best friend, Grace. "I can't wait to be free of that blind burden," Daniel said, his voice dripping with contempt. 3 years wasted with a woman who can't even see my face. Tomorrow, I'll finally be rid of her. Amira's knees buckled. She clung to the edge of her bed, her breath shallow, her body stiff. The blindfold she wore, a soft white fabric she hadn't removed in public for 3 years, felt like a noose around her head. Hot tears burned beneath it. Grace's laughter followed, high-pitched and cruel. "The blindfold was a blessing in disguise," she giggled. "At least she couldn't see us together all these years. She really believes you love her. What a fool." The betrayal in those words cut deeper than any knife. Grace, the woman Amira had trusted with her secrets, dreams and fears, had been laughing at her all along. "Tomorrow she'll walk down the aisle in that ridiculous outfit I've arranged," Daniel continued, gloating. "The whole community will laugh, and I'll announce to everyone that you, Grace, are my true love." Grace purred in approval. "No one will blame you. Who expects a successful man like you to stay with a blind woman forever? It was kind enough of you to put up with her this long." "Kind?" Daniel scoffed. "It was pity and guilt, nothing more." Amira bit down on her trembling lip to stop herself from screaming. Every part of her wanted to storm into that room, rip off her blindfold, and slap the truth into them both, but she didn't. Not yet. Instead, she collapsed onto the cold floor among the shards of her teacup, clutching her stomach as if holding herself together. Her tears soaked the fabric of her dress as she muffled her sobs. For 3 long years, she had lived as if blind. 3 years bumping into furniture. 3 years enduring pitying looks from strangers. 3 years walking through darkness by choice. She had done it all for love, for a test. Because the man behind that wall, the one laughing with her so-called friend, was the man she had saved from death. 3 years ago, Daniel had crashed his car recklessly into a telephone pole, running a red light after leaving a nightclub. The car had burst into flames. Amira, who had been passing by, had crawled through broken glass and smoke to drag him out. The fire damaged her eyes severely. Multiple surgeries and months of treatment in Accra had restored her vision, but she told no one, not even Daniel. Her wealthy family, the Obi family, owners of one of the largest oil corporations in West Africa, had suggested she continue wearing the blindfold. They wanted to see if Daniel truly loved her, or if he loved the idea of her vulnerability, or worse, her family's wealth, which they had hidden behind modest appearances. And now, tonight, the answer burned in her chest. Daniel didn't love her. He had never loved her. As the voices from the other side of the wall faded, Amira wiped her tears with trembling fingers. She crawled toward her mirror, the one piece of furniture she had memorized even while pretending to be blind. With shaky hands, she removed the blindfold and blinked at her reflection. Her clear brown eyes, red-rimmed from crying, stared back at her. The face in the mirror wasn't weak. It wasn't pitiful. Beneath the tear stains, she saw steel. "This will not be a wedding," she whispered to herself. "This will be a day of reckoning." That night, when the house fell silent, she slipped out into the cool Lagos air. For once, she left her blindfold behind. The wind kissed her face freely, and it felt like breathing for the first time. The streets of Lagos pulsed with life, even at night. Bright lights from shops spilled onto the sidewalks, and the sound of music floated from a nearby bar. Amira walked quickly toward the marketplace, her heart pounding in her chest. Tonight she wasn't the helpless blind fiancé. She was Amira Obi, daughter of influence, and she was reclaiming her power. At the market, vendors were packing up their stalls, but the air was still rich with the smell of roasted corn and peppered fish. She stopped at a small jewelry stall, her fingers brushing over vibrant coral beads. The vendor smiled. "For you, pretty lady. A good price." Amira bought a string of genuine coral beads, slipping them carefully into her purse. It was more than jewelry. It was a symbol of her true heritage, her true self. She would wear it at the perfect moment. As she turned to leave, a rough voice stopped her. "Such a pretty lady shouldn't walk alone at night," one man sneered, stepping in her path. Two others flanked him, their eyes roaming over her body. "Please, let me pass," Amira said, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "First you buy us drinks," the man growled, gripping her wrist painfully. "Pretty girls like you must have money." Fear clawed at her throat, but before she could react, another voice cut through the tension. "The lady asked you to let her go." A tall man stepped from the shadows, his presence commanding. He wore a tailored suit that caught the dim light, and his expression was deadly serious. The thugs laughed. "Mind your business." The man's voice hardened. "The lady is my business now. Leave." Something in his eyes made the thugs hesitate. They released her and melted into the night, muttering curses. Amira rubbed her wrist, a red mark forming where they had grabbed her. "Thank you," she said, her voice shaking, not from fear but from the emotional storm she'd been carrying. The man softened his tone. "Are you hurt?" "Not from them," she replied truthfully. He extended his hand. "I'm Michael Oliver." Her eyes widened. The name was familiar. Oliver Telecommunications, one of the largest corporations in Africa. "I'm Amira," she said, deliberately withholding her surname. Michael studied her with curiosity. "Why is someone like you walking alone at this hour?" Amira hesitated. Maybe it was his kindness, or maybe she had simply reached her breaking point, but the truth spilled out. "I'm supposed to be getting married tomorrow," she said bitterly. "But tonight I overheard my fiancé and my best friend plotting to humiliate me at my own wedding." Michael's jaw tightened. What kind of man would do that? "The kind who thinks I'm blind," she said, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I was injured saving him from a car accident. My eyes were damaged, but after months of surgeries, I regained my sight. I've pretended to be blind for 3 years to test if his love was real." Michael listened without interruption, his eyes soft with empathy. "And now you know," he said quietly. "Yes," Amira whispered. "Now I know." Michael leaned closer, his voice low but firm. "A man who treats you like this is no man at all. You deserve someone who loves you, blindfolded or not." His words wrapped around her like a blanket. She wiped her tears and took a deep breath. "I don't just want love. I want justice." Michael raised an eyebrow. "What are you planning?" She met his gaze, her eyes fierce. "I'm going through with the wedding. Let them think they've won. And when the moment is right, I'll reveal everything." "You'll face them alone?" Michael asked. "Not if you'll help me," she replied. He smiled slightly. "What do you need?" Amira's voice was steady. "Come to my wedding tomorrow. When they try to humiliate me, step forward. Pretend to be my suitor, a wealthy man who values me. Make them regret everything." Michael considered her request, then nodded. "It would be my honor." As their hands met, a spark passed between them, a connection that neither expected. That night, Amira returned home with new strength in her heart. She slipped the blindfold back on, not as a prisoner, but as a weapon. Tomorrow would be the day Daniel and Grace learned the cost of betrayal. As she lay in bed, Amira whispered, "Tomorrow they'll wish they never underestimated me." What would you do if you were Amira, betrayed by the man you saved and your best friend? And where are you watching from? The first rays of Lagos sunlight painted the sky in hues of orange and gold, but Amira's room remained cloaked in the heavy silence of determination. She sat on the edge of her bed, the blindfold loosely tied, listening to the distant hum of city traffic. Her heart thudded like a drumbeat. Today was not just any day. It was the day she would reclaim her power. She thought of her father, Chief Obi, a man whose influence stretched from Lagos to Cape Town. To the public, he was a reserved businessman, but within the family he was a fierce protector. Her mother, Stella, equally strong, had orchestrated their hidden wealth with careful precision. Together, they had supported Amira's decision to hide her true identity. For 3 years she had lived modestly, dressing simply, speaking little of her family, all to test Daniel's love. And he had failed. As the sun climbed higher, memories of those years flooded back. Dinners where Daniel barely spoke to her, social gatherings where he treated her like a burden, and the countless times Grace pretended to help while secretly smirking at her struggles. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her brother, Ryan, currently in Atlanta overseeing one of their family's oil subsidiaries. "Ryan, I'm ready. Flights arranged. Dad and I will land in Lagos by noon. Are you sure you're ready for this?" "Amira, I was born ready. Today, they'll regret everything." The morning passed with wedding preparations outside her room. Daniel's family, believing she was still blind and submissive, didn't bother checking on her. She sat quietly, rehearsing every step of her plan. When her phone buzzed again, she answered quickly. "Amira," came her uncle's voice from Accra. "I've sent documents proving your identity and inheritance. They're encrypted. Only you and Michael can access them. Is he reliable?" Amira's lips curled into a faint smile. "He saved me last night from 3 street thugs. He stood by me when I told him the truth. I trust him." "Good. You'll need every ally today. Make sure they see the real Amira Obi." "I will, Uncle," she said, her voice steady. "Today is the day they learn who they betrayed." By mid-morning, the house buzzed with activity. Grace knocked on her door, her tone sugary sweet. "Bestie, can I come in?" Amira tightened the blindfold and quickly hid her phone and the coral beads she'd bought. "Come in," she said, feigning vulnerability. Grace entered with a fake smile, holding a makeup kit. "Today is your big day, Amira. Aren't you excited?" "Very," Amira replied softly, tilting her head as though she couldn't see Grace's smirk. Grace began applying makeup, heavy, unflattering colors that clashed with Amira's skin tone. "You'll look so unique," she said, barely holding back a laugh. Amira kept still, her mind elsewhere. In a few hours, Grace's mockery would turn to horror. At the same time, in Cape Town, Michael Oliver prepared for his flight to Lagos. Dressed sharply, his assistant handed him the final files, recordings of Daniel's cruel words that Amira had shared. "Sir, are you sure about this?" the assistant asked. Michael's eyes hardened. She was humiliated by people she loved. Today I'll make sure she's the one who walks away victorious. Back in Lagos, Daniel was outside boasting to friends and relatives. After today, everyone will know who the real bride is. Grace is the woman I deserve, not that helpless blind girl. His mother, Lydia, nodded approvingly. "You're making the right choice, my son. No man should be chained to a burden." Unbeknownst to them, guests were already arriving, some from Lagos high society, others from political circles. Word had spread about the unusual wedding, and influencers were live-streaming the event. Every moment would be seen by thousands. At noon, a convoy of luxury cars glided through the gates of the Okoye compound. Daniel frowned, recognizing none of them. From the lead vehicle stepped Ryan Obi, tall and commanding, dressed in a suit that screamed power. Behind him, several security personnel carried briefcases. Daniel's eyes narrowed. "Who invited them?" Grace whispered nervously. "I don't know." Ryan's voice boomed. "Where is my sister?" Lydia stepped forward, her face twisted in confusion. "Your sister? Who are you?" Ryan smiled coldly. "You'll know soon enough." Meanwhile, in her room, Amira finished dressing in the garish outfit Daniel's mother had chosen for her. She looked like a caricature, but she didn't care. Underneath, hidden in a garment bag, was the real dress she would change into at the right moment. As Grace returned to escort her to the ceremony, Amira slipped her mother's coral beads into her purse. The weight of them reminded her of who she was. Grace grinned. "You look interesting." Amira smiled sweetly. "Thank you for helping me, Grace. You've always been such a good friend." For a split second, something flickered in Grace's eyes. Guilt, maybe. But it vanished quickly. "Come on, it's time." The courtyard was alive with music, Guests chatting under canopies draped with gold and white fabrics. Cameras flashed. Amira stepped out, head high despite the whispers. Is that the bride? What is she wearing? Poor girl doesn't even know how ridiculous she looks. Each word cut her, but she walked steadily. Her blindfold hid her eyes, but behind it, they blazed with determination. Daniel stood at the altar, smirking. Grace lingered nearby, resplendent in the real bridal gown. Lydia watched with satisfaction. When Amira reached Daniel, he leaned close and whispered, "Get ready for the performance of your life, blind girl." Amira tilted her head slightly and whispered back, "Yes, Daniel, get ready." The ceremony began. The officiant started speaking, but Daniel interrupted, raising his hand. "Before we continue, I have something to say." Gasps rose as he addressed the crowd. "For 3 years, I've stayed with Amira out of pity. She's blind, helpless, and cannot be the wife a man like me deserves." Murmurs swept the crowd. Grace stepped forward, her smile triumphant. Daniel grabbed her hand. "This is the woman who has stood by me, supported me. Today I choose her." The crowd erupted, some shocked, some clapping. Lydia shouted, "My son deserves happiness." 2 men moved to grab Amira's arms, ready to drag her away. She didn't resist. Not yet. But as they reached the gate, the roar of luxury engines filled the air. Michael Oliver's convoy entered the compound, his presence like a storm. The guests fell silent. Daniel froze. Grace's smile faltered. Michael stepped out, tall and imposing. "Release her," he commanded, his voice carrying authority. The men dropped Amira instantly. Daniel snarled, "Who do you think you are?" Michael ignored him, walking straight to Amira. With a gentle hand, he steadied her, then turned to the crowd. "My name is Michael Oliver, heir to Oliver Telecommunications," he announced. "I am here to propose to this woman, Amira, with a bride price that will make history." Gasps echoed. Cameras clicked. Daniel's face twisted with rage. "You're joking. She's blind. She's worthless." Michael's eyes darkened. "Choose your words carefully. The woman you call worthless is worth more than you will ever comprehend." Amira smiled faintly beneath her blindfold. The first piece of her plan had fallen perfectly into place. The crowd erupted in whispers as Michael signaled his men to open the briefcases, revealing stacks of cash and documents that shimmered under the sun. The tide was turning, but the real storm was yet to come. The air in the courtyard crackled with tension. Guests whispered behind raised hands, some pointing at the open briefcases filled with cash, deeds, and glittering jewelry. Others stared at Amira, still cloaked in her ridiculous outfit, wondering how a woman so pitiful could command such loyalty from a man like Michael Oliver. Daniel's jaw clenched. His smirk faltered, but he forced a laugh to cover his rising panic. "Are we supposed to be impressed by this display of wealth?" he scoffed, addressing the crowd. "This doesn't change the fact that she's blind. She's a burden, a joke. Look at her." Michael stepped closer to Daniel, his voice calm but dangerous. "Careful. The way a man speaks about a woman he claims to have loved reveals the truth of his character, and everyone here is listening." The crowd murmured in agreement. Even some of Daniel's relatives shifted uncomfortably, sensing the shift in power. Grace, still holding Daniel's arm, forced a laugh. "Don't listen to this stranger. He's only here to humiliate you, Daniel. He's lying." But her voice trembled. She could feel the ground slipping beneath her feet. Amira stood silently, the blindfold hiding her piercing gaze. Inside, her heart pounded with the rhythm of war drums. She felt the weight of 3 years pressing down on her shoulders, the pain, the humiliation, the betrayal. But beneath that pain, there was steel. Today she would rise. She stepped forward slightly, her voice calm but steady. "Daniel, you've made your choice clear. You think I'm weak, worthless, someone to be mocked. You believe I will walk away quietly while you parade Grace as the woman you truly love." Daniel smirked. "Finally you understand your place." Amira tilted her head. "Oh, I understand my place. But do you understand yours?" A ripple of confusion passed through the crowd. Daniel frowned. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Before Amira could respond, her brother Ryan strode forward from the crowd, his presence commanding immediate respect. Flanked by two men in suits, he stopped beside her, placing a protective hand on her shoulder. "You've disrespected my sister long enough," Ryan said coldly. "Today, you'll learn who you've been playing with." Daniel's eyes widened. "Your sister? Who are you?" Ryan cut him off. "I'm Ryan Obi, heir to the Obi oil empire. And this," he gestured to Amira, "is Amira Obi, my sister, the woman you thought was blind, helpless, and poor." Gasps exploded through the courtyard. Phones were raised as guests began recording, their excitement buzzing like electricity. Lydia's mouth fell open in shock. Grace stepped back, her grip on Daniel's arm loosening. Daniel stammered, "This is a trick. You're lying." Ryan laughed bitterly. "You'll see soon enough." He handed Michael a small flash drive. "Play it." Michael plugged it into a portable speaker his assistant carried. Within seconds, Daniel's own voice filled the courtyard, clear and damning. "I can't wait to be free of that blind burden. Tomorrow everyone will see how worthless she truly is." Then Grace's voice followed, dripping with malice. "At least she couldn't see us together all these years." The crowd erupted. Guests gasped, elders shook their heads, and whispers of condemnation spread like wildfire. Lydia covered her face, humiliated. Grace's eyes darted wildly, searching for an escape. Daniel lunged at Michael, but Ryan blocked him easily, shoving him back. "You'll answer for this," Ryan growled. Amira lifted her hand. "No, Ryan. Let him talk. Let him reveal himself even more." Daniel, red-faced and shaking, pointed at Amira. "You think this changes anything? You're still a joke. Under that coat is the pathetic outfit my mother gave you. Show everyone what you're wearing. Show them you're nothing without me." The crowd went silent, holding its breath. Grace sneered. "Yes, take it off. Show them who you really are." Amira's lips curled into a small, cold smile. "So you want me to reveal the truth? Very well." With deliberate slowness, she unbuttoned the outer coat. The whispers grew louder. When the final button came undone, she slipped the coat from her shoulders and let it fall to the ground. The courtyard erupted in gasps. Instead of the ridiculous outfit Daniel had arranged, Amira stood resplendent in a breathtaking burgundy and gold dress, intricately embroidered with patterns that shimmered in the sunlight. Her coral beads glistened around her neck, catching the eyes of everyone present. She looked like royalty, because she was. Daniel stumbled back. No, that's not possible. You were supposed to be humiliated," Amira asked softly, stepping closer. "Oh, Daniel, the only humiliation here is yours." Grace stepped forward, desperate. "She's lying. She planned this. She's manipulating all of you." Amira turned to Grace, her voice icy. "Manipulating? Grace, you were supposed to be my best friend. You held my hand while secretly laughing behind my back. You guided me through rooms while sleeping with the man I thought I loved. If anyone has been manipulating, it's you." The crowd hissed in disapproval. Someone shouted, "Shame on you!" Grace's face turned pale. She clung to Daniel, but he roughly shoved her away, trying to salvage his own image. "She's setting us up. She's—" Ryan's voice cut through the noise. "Enough. You've exposed yourselves. You mocked her, betrayed her, and planned to humiliate her. Now it's your turn to be humiliated." Michael stepped forward, his eyes blazing. "You called her blind and worthless. Let me show you what blindness truly looks like. Because you failed to see the value of the woman standing before you." The officiant, clearly shaken, spoke up. "Shall we continue with the ceremony?" Amira raised her hand. "No, this is no wedding. This is a lesson." She reached for her blindfold, her fingers trembling, not with fear, but with power. Slowly she untied the knot and pulled it away. The sunlight hit her eyes, and they sparkled like fire. The crowd erupted in awe. She could see. She had been able to see all along. Daniel fell to his knees, shock written across his face. You weren't blind?" Amira's voice rang clear and strong. "No, Daniel. I haven't been blind for 3 years, but you've been blind all along, to love, to loyalty, to the truth." The crowd's roar grew deafening. Phones streamed the moment live across social media. Daniel stared at Amira, his world crumbling, while Grace backed away in shame. Amira turned to the guests and said, "You've seen only the beginning. The rest will make you understand why betrayal has a price." What would you do if you were Amira, finally standing above those who betrayed you? And where are you watching from? The courtyard, moments ago filled with laughter and whispers of gossip, was now a storm of murmurs and phones capturing every detail. The shocking sight of Amira standing in her regal attire, blindfold discarded, burned itself into the minds of every guest present. Social media live streams exploded. Hashtags with her name began trending across Lagos and even beyond. Daniel stood frozen, beads of sweat dripping down his forehead. Grace clung to his arm like a lifeline, but he yanked himself free, his pride crumbling under the weight of 1,000 eyes. His mother, Lydia, stared at Amira with trembling hands, unable to process what was unfolding. Amira took a step forward, her heels clicking on the tiled floor with power. Her voice, calm yet commanding, cut through the noise like a blade. "You all came today expecting to witness my humiliation. Instead, you will witness the truth." The crowd fell silent, waiting for her next words. Ryan moved beside her, his tall figure radiating authority. "The Obi family does not tolerate betrayal," he said firmly, "and today the world will see what happens to those who try to mock one of us." Daniel, regaining a shred of courage, straightened his back and forced a laugh. "So what? You've been hiding behind your wealth, testing me like some game. You're just proving you're manipulative." Amira tilted her head, a faint smile curving her lips. "Manipulative? No, Daniel. I gave you 3 years to prove yourself. 3 years where I lived in darkness by choice, just to see if you could love me for who I am, not for what I could give you. And you failed." Grace's voice cracked as she spoke up. "You think you're better than us because of your money? Because you can see?" Amira turned her cold gaze on her former friend. "No, Grace. I know I'm better than someone who betrays a friend for scraps of affection from a coward." The crowd erupted in gasps, some clapping at her words. Others shook their heads in shame at Daniel and Grace's audacity. Just then, the gates of the compound opened again. Heads turned as a convoy of black SUVs rolled in, engines humming like an approaching storm. From the lead car stepped Chief Obi himself, towering in his immaculate suit, his wife Stella gracefully following beside him. The guests gasped. Many recognized the powerful couple instantly. "They came in person?" someone whispered. "This is serious," another muttered. Chief Obi walked straight to his daughter, his eyes softening only for her. "My child," he said, kissing her forehead, "you've carried this test with strength. Now allow me to carry the final blow." Amira nodded, tears threatening to escape, but she held them back. Stella stepped forward, addressing the crowd. "You all mocked my daughter. You pitied her, whispered behind her back, and treated her like she was nothing. But today you will remember this moment as the day the Obis reminded you who we are." Ryan signaled, and their men opened briefcases filled with documents, ownership titles, corporate shares, international assets. "She is not just my daughter," Chief Obi continued. "She is the future head of Obi Oil Empire, with holdings across Lagos, Accra, Cape Town, and Atlanta. The wealth you see here," he gestured to the displays of power, "is a fraction of what she owns." The guests buzzed with shock. Phones streamed the scene live, the world watching as Amira's true identity unfolded. Daniel, pale and trembling, stumbled forward. "Amira, wait. She raised her hand, silencing him. "No. You don't get to speak. You had 3 years to show me love, and instead you gave me betrayal." Grace tried to speak, but her voice was drowned by the murmurs of disapproval from the guests. Women shook their heads at her, men spat insults under their breath. Grace's flawless image crumbled with every second. Michael stepped forward now, his deep voice calm but sharp. "You called her blind and worthless. Look at her now. Do you still believe those words?" Daniel's lip quivered, his arrogance faltering. "Amira, please, I made mistakes. Let me explain." Amira's laugh, soft yet bitter, cut him off. Explain what? That you stayed with me out of pity. That you cheated with the woman I called my sister. That you planned to shame me in front of everyone today. No, Daniel, you've explained enough. Grace's face twisted with anger. She's manipulating all of you. This was her plan to trap us. Chief Obi's booming voice silenced her. Trap you? You trapped yourselves the moment you plotted against my daughter. You betrayed her, and now you must face the consequences. The officiant, visibly shaken, tried to regain control of the ceremony. Shall we continue with the wedding? Amira turned to him, her voice firm. There will be no wedding. Not the one they planned, at least. She glanced at Michael, who stepped closer and took her hand. The gesture sent a ripple of whispers through the crowd. Michael looked into her eyes and said loudly, Amira, you deserve someone who values you, not someone who uses you. Today, if you'll allow me, I'll stand beside you, not as a stranger, but as a man who truly sees you. Gasps erupted as the crowd realized what was happening. Cameras flashed wildly. Daniel's face twisted with rage. You think she'll pick you over me? She loves me. Amira's voice was steady as she answered. Loved, past tense. You killed that love with your own hands. Lydia tried to intervene, stepping forward. Amira, please don't do this. Think of my son's reputation. Amira turned her cold eyes on the older woman. You cared nothing for my dignity. You dressed me in rags to humiliate me. Today, your son's reputation dies by the same sword he raised against me. Ryan clapped his hands once, and two men in suits projected the damning audio again for all to hear. Daniel's voice, dripping with contempt, filled the courtyard. Grace's laughter followed. Their own words destroyed them. The guests were no longer whispering. They were openly condemning. Shameful. How could they treat her like that? She's stronger than all of them combined. Daniel dropped to his knees, begging now. Amira, forgive me. Please don't ruin me. Amira looked down at him, her expression unreadable. You ruined yourself. Grace tried to run, but security blocked her path. Where are you going, Grace? Ryan asked coldly. Stay and watch what happens to traitors. Amira stepped to the center of the courtyard, lifting her chin. Everyone, look closely. Today was meant to be my humiliation, but instead it is their judgment. Let this be a lesson. When you betray someone who loves you, the world will see who you really are. The crowd roared in applause, cheering her name. Michael stood beside her, his hand firm in hers, as Daniel and Grace collapsed in disgrace. As the applause died down, Amira turned to Michael with a small smile. This isn't over. The real reckoning begins now. The crowd gasped as Ryan signaled his men to bring forward another briefcase, this one containing evidence that would finish Daniel and Grace completely. The courtyard fell silent as Ryan's men placed the final briefcase on a table at the center of the gathering. Every eye followed the movement, and phones zoomed in to capture the moment. Daniel shifted nervously, his once arrogant stance now hunched with desperation. Grace clung to his arm, trembling, as though proximity to him could somehow shield her from the shame radiating off her skin. Amira, now standing in full control, lifted her chin and walked slowly toward the briefcase. The beads around her neck shimmered under the sun, casting tiny reflections like sparks of fire. She placed a hand on the case, looked up at the crowd, and spoke calmly, each word dripping with power. 3 years ago, I risked my life to save a man from a burning car. I gave him my love, my trust, and my loyalty. Today, he repays me with betrayal, but betrayal is a seed that always grows into a bitter fruit. Gasps rippled across the crowd. The older women nodded in agreement. The younger guests whispered excitedly into their phones. Ryan leaned toward the briefcase, unlocking it with a sharp click. The lid popped open, revealing stacks of legal documents, photographs, and a small speaker. He pulled out a few papers and addressed the crowd. These, he said, holding up the documents, are contracts and financial records that prove Daniel has been siphoning money from my sister's accounts, funds she believed were going toward their future together. Instead, he used them to finance his mistress's lifestyle. The crowd erupted in outrage. Some guests shouted insults. Thief! Shameless! Daniel's face turned ghostly white. That's not true. Those are forged. Ryan slammed another set of papers onto the table. These are bank statements from the past 2 years, signed in your name. Would you like me to read the amounts you stole? Daniel's mouth opened, but no words came out. Grace's eyes darted wildly, searching for a way out as guests filmed every second. Amira's voice was like ice. You thought I was blind to your actions. You thought I couldn't see how you used me, mocked me, and plotted against me. But while you were laughing behind my back, I was gathering every piece of evidence. Grace finally snapped, her voice shrill. You planned this. You set us up. You wanted us to look bad. Amira turned her gaze to her former friend. No, Grace, you did that all on your own. Grace's composure crumbled. Tears streaked her heavily made-up face as she fell to her knees. Amira, please. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Amira stepped closer, her voice low but firm. You didn't mean to get caught. The crowd gasped again. The humiliation burned like acid on Grace's skin. Michael, who had remained silent until now, moved forward with a calm authority that commanded attention. He held up his phone. Shall we show them more? He tapped the screen, and a video projected on a nearby screen through a connected device. The footage showed Daniel and Grace in a hotel room, laughing and mocking Amira while discussing how they would announce their relationship at the wedding. Daniel's voice in the video was clear. She's so pathetic. I'll announce you as my real bride, Grace, and we'll watch her crumble. Grace's laughter followed. I can't wait to see her face. She'll wish she was really blind. The crowd erupted in boos, hisses, and shouts of disgust. The elders shook their heads, muttering prayers against such wickedness. Lydia, Daniel's mother, buried her face in her hands, humiliated beyond words. Daniel collapsed to his knees. Amira, please. I was wrong. I love you. I can change. Give me another chance. Amira stared down at him, her expression cold. Love? You loved my blindness, not me. You loved what you thought you could control. Grace crawled toward her, sobbing. Amira, please forgive me. I was jealous of you. You had everything and I had nothing. Amira stepped back, her voice cutting. Jealousy doesn't justify betrayal. Chief Obi stepped forward now, his voice thunderous. Enough begging. You both had choices, and you chose treachery. Now you will live with the consequences. He signaled his men, who handed out copies of the evidence to several journalists present. Flashbulbs exploded as reporters documented the scandal. Social media feeds flooded with hashtags, Wow Amira Obi, Betrayal, Exposed, Daniel and Grace Scandal. Daniel grabbed Amira's dress, his voice breaking. Please, Amira, don't destroy me. I'll lose everything. She looked down at him one last time. You should have thought about that before you tried to destroy me. She turned away from him, and Michael stepped in, pulling Daniel back with one hand. The crowd erupted in applause. Ryan took the microphone, his voice commanding. To everyone here, let this be a warning. Those who plot against the innocent will always face justice. My sister will leave here today not as a victim but as a victor. The applause grew louder. Guests began chanting her name. Amira! 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 Grace fainted from the overwhelming shame, collapsing onto the tiles. Daniel covered his face, his body shaking as cameras captured every humiliating moment. Lydia wept quietly, knowing her family's name would be dragged through the mud. Amira turned to the guests, her voice clear and powerful. This was never about wealth or status. This was about love, trust, and betrayal. Today, I reclaim my dignity, my power, and my life. To everyone watching, remember this: never mistake kindness for weakness. Michael stepped beside her, offering his hand. She took it with a proud smile. The crowd roared its approval as they walked away from the altar, leaving Daniel and Grace in ruins. As Amira reached the edge of the courtyard, her phone buzzed. A message appeared from an unknown number. You think this is over? You've humiliated Daniel, but he's not done with you. Her eyes narrowed. The battle wasn't finished yet. The sun was beginning to set over Lagos, painting the sky with streaks of crimson and gold, but the heat in the Okoye compound was far from fading. Guests were still buzzing with conversations, journalists swarmed outside the gates, and social media feeds continued to blow up with videos and pictures of the shocking events. Amira sat in the back of a sleek black SUV, her blindfold gone, her posture straight and unyielding. The hum of the engine was drowned by the pounding of her heart. Beside her, Michael sat silently, occasionally glancing at her with a look of quiet admiration. Ryan rode in the car ahead, coordinating security with their father's men. The message on Amira's phone echoed in her mind. "You think this is over? You've humiliated Daniel, but he's not done with you." She gripped the phone tighter, her jaw clenched. Michael finally broke the silence. "You're worried about that message, aren't you?" Amira didn't turn to face him. Daniel's pride is bruised, and a man like him doesn't handle defeat well. He'll try something. The question is when and how. Michael nodded slowly. "Then we prepare. I won't let anything happen to you, Amira." She glanced at him, her expression softening for a brief moment. "Thank you. You barely know me, yet you've stood by me through this." Michael smiled faintly. "Some things you don't need years to see. I can tell you're worth standing by." A warmth spread through her chest, but she quickly masked it with her usual strength. "Sentiment later. Right now we plan." Meanwhile, back at the Okoye compound, Daniel sat slumped in a chair, his face buried in his hands. His world had collapsed within hours. Grace sat across from him, still pale and shaking from her public disgrace. "We need to leave Lagos," she whispered. "The press, the humiliation. It's too much." Daniel lifted his head, his eyes bloodshot but burning with rage. "Leave?" "No, Grace. We don't run. She ruined me. She made me a laughingstock in front of everyone. I'm going to make her pay." Grace's voice trembled. "Daniel, she's powerful. Her family." "I don't care about her family," he snapped. "I'll find a way. She thinks she's untouchable, but everyone has a weakness." Grace looked at him fearfully. "What are you planning?" Daniel leaned back, his mouth curling into a cruel smile. "You'll see." That night, Amira returned to her family's private estate in Ikoyi. The compound was a fortress, armed guards at every corner, high walls, and security cameras scanning the grounds. Despite the security, her father insisted on a family meeting. Chief Obi sat at the head of the dining table, his expression grave. "Today was a victory, but it also painted a target on your back. Daniel is humiliated, and men like him become dangerous when cornered." Ryan leaned forward, his tone sharp. "I've already increased security around Amira. If he tries anything, he won't get far." Stella, Amira's mother, reached for her daughter's hand. "Are you sure you want to stay in Lagos? You could leave for Accra or Cape Town until things calm down." Amira shook her head. "No. If I leave, he wins. This is my home, and I won't be chased away by a coward." Michael, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "She's right, but we need to stay ahead of him. I have contacts in Cape Town and Atlanta. If Daniel tries to move against her through business or reputation, we'll know." Chief Obi nodded approvingly. "Good. Michael, I see why my daughter trusts you." Amira felt a flicker of pride. Despite the chaos, alliances were forming. Later that night, as the estate quieted, Amira stood on the balcony overlooking the city. The Lagos skyline glittered in the distance, but her mind was far from peaceful. Her phone buzzed again. This time the message was worse. "You've taken everything from me. Watch your back, Amira. I'm coming for you." She exhaled sharply, forwarding the message to Ryan and Michael. Seconds later, Ryan appeared at her side. "I saw it," he said. "We'll track the number." Amira's eyes hardened. "No, let him think he's in control. The more he reveals, the easier it will be to end this." Ryan smirked. "You're more like Dad than you think." Amira allowed herself a small smile. "Maybe, but I'm also myself, and I have unfinished business." The next morning, Daniel moved quickly. Using connections he had with a few corrupt officials, he began leaking false stories to the press, claims that Amira had manipulated him, that she had used her wealth to fabricate evidence, that Michael's proposal was a publicity stunt. Blogs and tabloids across Lagos lit up with scandalous headlines. Was Amira Obi's wedding drama staged? New reports claim billionaire heiress faked blindness for sympathy. Daniel Okoye speaks, "I'm the victim here." Grace, although hesitant, played along, appearing in an interview where she cried crocodile tears and painted Amira as a cruel manipulator. But what they didn't know was that Amira had anticipated this. By noon, her legal team released official statements, backed by evidence, dismantling every lie Daniel had spread. Michael also called in favors with his contacts in the media, ensuring that Daniel's attempts to rewrite the narrative failed spectacularly. By the end of the day, the tide turned back in Amira's favor. News outlets shifted their focus to praising her strength and condemning Daniel's desperate antics. Still, Amira knew the man wouldn't stop there. As she prepared for bed that night, her phone buzzed again with a video message. She hesitated before opening it. The video was dark, grainy. Daniel's face appeared on the screen, twisted with anger. "You think you've won? You think this is over? I'll destroy everything you love. I'll make sure you regret the day you ever crossed me." The video cut off abruptly. Amira's grip tightened on the phone. Her heart pounded, but not with fear, with resolve. The next day, Michael found her in the garden, her face calm, but her eyes fierce. "We need to be ready," she said without looking at him. He nodded. "We will be. Whatever he's planning, we'll crush it." Amira turned to him, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Good, because I'm not just defending myself. I'm ending him." That night, an explosion rocked a car outside the Obi estate gates, shattering the calm. Security rushed to the scene. As smoke rose into the night sky, Amira whispered to herself, "It has begun." What would you do if your enemy escalated their threats to violence, and where are you watching from? The explosion outside the Obi estate gates sent a wave of panic rippling through the compound. Security guards swarmed the area, extinguishing flames as smoke rose into the night sky. Guests in the nearby quarters screamed and scrambled for safety, while the estate's alarms blared relentlessly. Amira stood at the balcony overlooking the chaos, her face lit by the flickering glow of the fire. Her heart pounded, but she remained outwardly calm. This was the escalation she had expected. Daniel had crossed the line from humiliation to open warfare. Ryan stormed into her room moments later, his voice sharp. That was no accident. The blast was deliberate. Whoever planted that device wanted to send a message. Amira turned to face him, her expression cold. And the message was received. Daniel has made his move. Michael entered behind Ryan, his phone pressed to his ear as he issued rapid orders to his security team. Hanging up, he approached Amira. "My contacts confirmed it wasn't just an intimidation tactic. The device was sophisticated, not something bought off the streets. Daniel has help." Ryan cursed under his breath. "This man doesn't know when to stop. I've already called the authorities, but we can't rely on them completely. He may have people in his pocket." Amira's eyes hardened. "Then we do this my way. If he wants to play dangerous, we'll end this before he gets another chance." By morning, the incident was already all over the news. Videos of the explosion circulated online, with reporters speculating about an assassination attempt against the Obi family. The headlines screamed, "Heiress targeted, is the Daniel Okoye scandal turning deadly? Attack on Obi estate. Suspicions rise against disgraced ex-fiancé." Daniel, desperate to save face, went live on social media. Wearing a mask of concern, he said, "I would never hurt Amira. These are lies spread by her powerful family to frame me because I spoke the truth about her manipulation." His performance might have fooled some, but the majority of viewers saw through the act. The comment section flooded with anger and ridicule. "Stop lying, Daniel. We saw the videos. First you cheat, now this? Prison will suit you well." Grace, however, remained silent. Her absence from public view was noted, and rumors swirled that she was hiding, fearing for her own safety. That afternoon, Amira held a private meeting in her father's study. Present were Ryan, Michael, and a few trusted family advisors. She leaned over the table, where a map of Lagos was spread out alongside photos and intelligence reports. "We know Daniel has help," Amira said, her voice steady. "Whoever supplied that device isn't doing it for free. There's a network behind him. If we cut off his support, we cripple him." Ryan nodded. "I've tracked suspicious bank transfers from Daniel's accounts to an unknown shell company in Cape Town. It's connected to a smuggler who deals in illegal arms." Michael added, "I've dealt with this man before. He's dangerous but greedy. If we put pressure on him, he'll cut Daniel loose to save his own skin." Amira's lips curved into a cold smile. "Good. We'll squeeze him until he cracks. Meanwhile, we strengthen security around the estate and leak just enough information to the press to keep Daniel under the spotlight." Ryan grinned. "You're ruthless, sister. I like it." That evening, Amira went live on her verified social media account, her face composed and powerful. "To those who tried to scare me into silence," she said, her voice carrying across millions of screens, "you failed. I will not be intimidated. I will not run. Every threat only makes me stronger. You may think you're in control, but you've already lost." The video went viral instantly, earning her massive support. Fans from Lagos to Atlanta flooded her comments with love and encouragement. Hashtags like Jin Amira Strong and Young Justice for Amira trended worldwide. Meanwhile, Daniel watched the broadcast from his hideout in Lekki. His face twisted with rage as he smashed his phone onto the table. "She's turning everyone against me," he shouted at Grace, who sat silently in the corner. "You're the one who started this," she muttered. He turned on her, his eyes wild. "Don't you dare blame me. You're just as guilty. If I go down, you're coming with me." Grace shivered, realizing the man she thought she loved had become dangerous, even to her. Moments later, one of Daniel's associates entered. "Boss, the supplier in Cape Town just cut off ties. He says it's too risky to deal with you now." Daniel's eyes widened with fury. "That's Amira. She's behind this. She's cutting me off." He slammed his fist on the table. "No, she won't win. If she wants war, I'll give her war." The next day, Michael arranged a meeting with the Cape Town supplier, using his corporate influence to corner the man into cooperating. Amira and Ryan flew to Cape Town under heavy security, the media unaware of their movements. The meeting took place in a high-rise office overlooking the city. The supplier, a nervous-looking man named Victor, shifted uneasily as Michael laid out the evidence of his illegal dealings. "You're caught between a powerful family and a desperate man," Michael said coldly. "Choose wisely." Victor wiped sweat from his brow. "Fine. I'll tell you everything. Daniel hired me to supply explosives and false IDs. He wanted to stage an attack that would make it look like you were the target of political rivals while framing your family for corruption." Amira's stomach turned, but she kept her voice calm. "He's gone too far. Give us proof." Victor slid a USB drive across the table. "This has every transaction, every message. Take it. Just keep me out of it." Ryan smirked. "You'll be fine if you stay out of Daniel's shadow." Armed with new evidence, Amira returned to Lagos. The plan was clear. Expose Daniel completely, not just as a cheater and liar, but as a criminal. They would hold nothing back. As night fell, she prepared for the final confrontation. Cameras, press, and even police were ready to act on her signal. Michael stood beside her, adjusting his cufflinks. "Are you sure about this? Once this starts, there's no going back." Amira met his gaze, her eyes blazing with determination. "I've come too far to stop now. Tonight, Daniel learns what happens when you push me too far." Just as they were finalizing the plan, a sudden blackout swept through the Obi estate. The lights died, the security systems went down, and the compound plunged into darkness. From the shadows, a voice echoed. "You think you're safe, Amira? I'm already inside." The sudden blackout plunged the Obi estate into pitch darkness. the hum of the generators eerily absent. The once bustling compound fell silent, the only sound the distant barking of guard dogs and the sharp breaths of security personnel scrambling into position. Amira stood frozen for a moment, her heart hammering against her ribs. This wasn't a random power failure. She knew Daniel had made his move. Ryan's voice cut through the darkness, calm but firm. "Everyone, stay sharp. Lock down the perimeter. Activate backup security." Within seconds, the estate's emergency lights flickered to life, casting a dim red glow across the hallways. Armed guards spread out, their radios crackling with updates. Michael appeared at Amira's side, his jaw tight. "Stay close to me. This isn't just intimidation. He's here." From the shadows, a voice echoed, distorted but chilling. "Running to your guards won't save you, Amira. Not tonight." Amira's breath caught. The voice was unmistakably Daniel's. Ryan signaled to the guards to sweep the compound. "Find him, now!" The security team moved through the estate, checking every corner. But Daniel had planned this. He was inside, and he knew the layout better than most of the staff. The group moved to the secure panic room, but as they approached, a loud crash echoed from the east wing. Glass shattered, and one of the guards' radios went silent with a burst of static. Michael pulled Amira behind him, his hand firm on her arm. "Stay back. He's trying to lure us." Amira straightened her back. "No, I won't hide. Not from him. Not anymore." Michael glanced at her, his expression torn between admiration and fear. "You're brave, but this is different. He's dangerous now." She met his gaze. "So am I." In the east wing, Daniel moved like a predator, using the dim lighting to his advantage. His clothes were dark, his face smeared with dirt and sweat. He gripped a knife tightly, his eyes wild. Every step he took was filled with the rage of a man who had lost everything. Grace's voice crackled faintly in his earpiece, whispering through a burner phone connection. "Daniel, please, leave. This has gone too far." "Too far?" Daniel hissed, his voice low and venomous. "She took my pride, my name, my life. Tonight I take everything from her." He smashed another window, drawing the guards toward him. As they moved, he slipped into the shadows, circling closer to where he knew Amira would be. Meanwhile, Amira and Michael moved cautiously down the main hallway, escorted by Ryan and 2 guards. The emergency lights cast long shadows, making every corner a threat. "Daniel!" Amira called out, her voice ringing through the halls. "Is this what you've become? A coward who hides in the dark?" Her words echoed, met with silence. Then a low laugh answered her. "You call me a coward? You humiliated me in front of the world. You think you've won? You've just begun to lose." The sound of his voice moved closer, bouncing off the walls. The guards tightened their formation. Michael whispered, "Stay behind me." Amira shook her head. "No, this ends with me." Suddenly, a figure lunged from the shadows. The guards fired a warning shot, but Daniel moved too fast, knocking one guard to the floor and disarming him in seconds. The knife glinted in the red light as he advanced. Ryan stepped forward, blocking his path. "You're done, Daniel. Drop the knife and face the consequences like a man." Daniel snarled, his eyes darting between Ryan and Amira. "You think you can protect her? You think your money makes you untouchable?" Amira's voice cut through the tension. "This isn't about money, Daniel. This is about the kind of man you chose to be." He froze for a moment, the words slicing deeper than any weapon. His grip on the knife faltered, but only for a second. "No," he spat. "This is about survival, and I'm not going down without taking you with me." With a roar, he charged. The guards fired, hitting the ground near his feet to stop him, but Daniel didn't flinch. He lunged toward Amira, knife raised. Michael tackled him just in time, the 2 men crashing into a table. The knife clattered to the floor. Ryan kicked the weapon away as the guards restrained Daniel, who thrashed violently, screaming, "You can't stop me! You think this ends here? I'll find a way. I'll ruin her." Amira stepped forward, her face inches from his, as the guards held him. Her voice was cold and steady. No, Daniel, you're finished. Daniel spat at her feet, his voice hoarse. You'll regret this. Amira didn't blink. The only thing I regret is wasting 3 years on you. The guards dragged him away, kicking and shouting until the estate fell silent once more. After the police took Daniel into custody, the Obi estate slowly returned to calm. Michael stayed with Amira, his hand brushing hers reassuringly. Ryan approached with a sigh of relief. He's done. He'll face charges not just for tonight, but for everything. We have the evidence. Amira nodded, her shoulders finally relaxing. Good. Let him rot. Michael smiled faintly. You were incredible back there. I've never seen anyone face danger like that. She looked at him, her voice softer now. I didn't have a choice. I had to finish what he started. Hours later, as dawn broke over Lagos, the estate stood quiet, bathed in the early light. Amira stood on the balcony watching the sunrise. The nightmare had ended, but her story was far from over. Ryan joined her, handing her a cup of tea. The press is going wild. They're calling you the strongest woman in Lagos. Amira chuckled softly. Let them call me what they want. I know who I am now. Michael stepped beside her, his eyes warm. And who is that? Amira smiled, the first genuine smile in days. A woman who refuses to be broken. As they stood watching the sunrise, Amira's phone buzzed with an unexpected call from an unknown Atlanta number. She answered cautiously. A distorted voice said, Daniel isn't the only one who wants you gone. The real war starts now. The morning sun spilled over Lagos, but despite its warmth, a chill settled deep in Amira's bones. She stood on the balcony, phone still clutched in her hand, the echo of the distorted voice replaying in her mind. Daniel isn't the only one who wants you gone. The real war starts now. Her chest tightened, but fear quickly hardened into determination. Whoever this new threat was, they underestimated her just like Daniel had. Michael appeared beside her, noticing the tension in her jaw. Who was that? Amira handed him the phone. I don't know, but they made it clear. Daniel was just the beginning. Ryan entered the balcony, holding his own phone. I traced the call. It came from Atlanta, but the number was scrambled. Whoever it is knows how to hide. Michael frowned. Atlanta? That's far from Lagos. They're reaching across continents. This isn't just personal, it's organized. Amira took a deep breath. Then we uncover them. We don't wait for them to strike, we go to them first. The Obi family gathered in the private conference room later that morning. Screens glowed with maps, photos, and financial data. Chief Obi stood at the head of the table, his expression grave. This call changes everything, he said. Someone else is pulling strings behind the scenes. Daniel may have been their pawn. If they're reaching from Atlanta, they have resources. We can't afford to underestimate them. Stella placed a reassuring hand on Amira's shoulder. Whoever they are, we'll face them together. Ryan turned to his sister. I've spoken with our security contacts in the US. They've detected suspicious activity around some of our oil subsidiaries there. It seems someone's been trying to destabilize our operations quietly. Michael leaned forward. That's no coincidence. They're attacking you financially and personally. The wedding humiliation, the explosion, the blackout, it's all part of something bigger. Amira's voice was calm but fierce. Then we take this fight to Atlanta. 2 days later, Amira, Michael, and Ryan flew to Atlanta under heavy security, traveling discreetly to avoid alerting their enemies. The city skyline rose in the distance as their convoy moved through the streets. Their first stop was the Obi corporate office downtown. Inside, employees greeted them nervously, aware of the ongoing scandal and the threats looming over their heiress. Ryan convened a meeting with the local management team, grilling them for any signs of internal leaks. Amira stepped aside to make a private call. She dialed an investigative journalist she had previously trusted to expose corruption stories. I need your help, she said, when the line connected. There's a network targeting me and my family. I need to know who's funding them. The journalist, a sharp woman named Kelly, promised to dig deep. If someone's playing games at this level, I'll find them. That evening, while Michael coordinated with security, Amira decided to take a walk through the vibrant streets of Atlanta to clear her head. The city buzzed with life, neon lights reflecting off glass skyscrapers, music drifting from cafes. For a moment, she almost felt normal again. But that moment didn't last. As she turned down a quieter street, a black SUV slowed behind her. Her instincts screamed danger. Before she could react, two men stepped out, dressed in black, their faces partially hidden by masks. "Miss Obi," one of them said in a low voice, "you shouldn't be here alone." Amira's heart pounded. "Who sent you?" Instead of answering, they moved closer. But before they could reach her, a third figure emerged from the shadows, a man in a leather jacket, tall and broad-shouldered, moving with deadly precision. He struck one attacker with a swift blow, knocking him down, and disarmed the second before shoving him to the ground. The attackers scrambled back to their SUV and sped off, tires screeching. Amira stared at her unexpected savior, her breath catching. "Who are you?" The man looked at her with calm intensity. "Name's Samuel. I used to work with the network that's after you. Now I want to help you take them down." Back at the hotel, Samuel revealed what he knew. "The people targeting you call themselves the Syndicate. They're not just after your family. They control arms deals, oil trades, and political contracts across Africa and the US. Daniel was desperate and easy to manipulate. They used him to get to you." Michael crossed his arms, his tone skeptical. "And why should we trust you?" Samuel met his gaze without flinching. "Because I left them. They tried to kill me when I refused to follow orders. I know how they operate. If you don't stop them, they'll keep coming until you have nothing left." Amira studied him, her instincts telling her he was telling the truth. "What do they want from me specifically?" Samuel hesitated. "They want your company. Your family's oil empire threatens their control in several markets. They plan to break you psychologically, then financially. You were never just Daniel's target. You were theirs." Ryan leaned forward. "Do you know who leads them?" Samuel nodded slowly. "Yes, a man named Victor Cole. He's based here in Atlanta, and he's as ruthless as they come. If you want to end this, you'll have to confront him." The next night, Amira prepared herself. Wearing a sleek black suit, she met with Samuel, Ryan, and Michael to plan their move against Victor Cole. They learned he was hosting a private event at a luxurious skyscraper downtown, a perfect chance to gather evidence and confront him. Michael looked at Amira with concern. "This is dangerous. If he realizes who you are, he won't hesitate to kill you." Amira's lips curled into a determined smile. "Let him try. I've faced worse." The event was opulent, filled with powerful figures from business and politics. Amira entered with Samuel and Michael at her side, her presence commanding attention even under the dim lights. They mingled carefully, collecting information, while Ryan coordinated from a van outside, hacking into the building's security feed. Halfway through the evening, Amira locked eyes with Victor Cole. He was a tall man in an immaculate suit, surrounded by bodyguards. His smile was cold as he approached her. "So," he said smoothly, "the famous Amira Obi finally appears. You have courage. I'll give you that." Amira's gaze was unflinching. "You've been playing games with my life. It ends tonight." Victor chuckled. "Oh, Amira, you have no idea how deep this goes. Daniel was nothing. You've only scratched the surface of what we control." Her heart pounded, but she stood firm. "Then I'll keep digging until I tear it all down." Victor leaned closer, his voice a whisper. "You won't live long enough to try." Suddenly, the lights in the skyscraper went out, plunging the room into chaos. Gunshots rang out, guests screamed, and Victor vanished into the darkness. Amira felt a strong hand grab hers. Michael's voice cut through the panic. "We have to move, now." The ballroom erupted into chaos. Guests screamed as the sound of gunfire echoed through the skyscraper. Tables flipped, glass shattered, and the once luxurious setting turned into a battlefield. In the flashing emergency lights, Amira felt Michael's strong grip on her hand as he pulled her behind a marble pillar. "Stay low," he shouted over the noise. Ryan's voice crackled in their earpieces from the surveillance van outside. "Security feed's been cut. Victor's men killed the cameras. You have to get to the service elevator on the west side before they corner you." Amira crouched, her breath sharp but steady. She wasn't afraid. She was angry. This was the syndicate's last attempt to break her, and she wasn't going to give them the satisfaction. "Where's Samuel?" she asked. Michael scanned the room. "He went after Victor." Amira peeked out just in time to see Samuel fighting two armed men near the exit, his moves swift and precise. He disarmed one, using the attacker's own weapon to knock him unconscious, before kicking the other aside. He spotted Amira and signaled for her to follow. "This way," Samuel barked, clearing a path. They moved quickly through the darkened halls, but Victor's men were everywhere. Bullets ricocheted off the walls as they fired at the fleeing trio. Michael returned fire with a guard's confiscated weapon, while Amira and Samuel pressed forward. Suddenly, Victor's voice boomed over the building's speakers, calm and mocking. "You think you can walk into my house and walk out alive? You're braver than I thought, Amira, but bravery won't save you." Amira shouted back, her voice echoing, "Your reign ends tonight, Victor." He laughed. "We'll see." They reached the service elevator, but as Samuel pried it open, another wave of attackers appeared. Ryan's voice buzzed urgently. "More men coming from your left. You need to move now." Amira grabbed a fallen metal rod and swung it at the first man, who lunged toward her, catching him across the face. The second attacker fired, but Michael tackled him to the ground, wresting the gun from his hands. With the path momentarily clear, they slipped into the elevator. Samuel hit the button for the rooftop. "We'll corner him there. He won't expect it." The elevator creaked upward. Amira's heart raced, but her mind was laser-focused. This was it, the final confrontation. The doors opened to the rooftop, where the cool Atlanta night wind whipped around them. The city sprawled below, lights shimmering like a million stars. Victor stood near the edge, his suit immaculate despite the chaos, flanked by two heavily armed bodyguards. He smiled as they approached. "You actually made it. Impressive." Amira stepped forward, her voice cutting through the wind. "It's over, Victor. The world will know who you are and what you've done." Victor chuckled. The world doesn't care. They only care about power, and I have it. Do you really think a spoiled heiress can take down an empire?" Michael raised his weapon. "Try us." Victor raised his hand, and his guards moved to attack. Samuel engaged one, grappling with him, while Michael exchanged gunfire with the other. Amira moved with precision, grabbing a loose pipe and knocking one guard off balance. Samuel finished him with a swift blow. Victor clapped slowly, mocking. "Not bad, but you'll still lose." Amira glared at him. "No, Victor. You've already lost." Ryan's voice cut through the earpiece. "Amira, now!" She pressed a button on the small device Samuel had given her earlier, a transmitter linked to the evidence they'd collected. Across the city, screens in public squares lit up, broadcasting video proof of Victor's crimes, his illegal arms deals, his ties to terrorist organizations, and his orchestration of attacks on the Obi family. Victor's face darkened as he saw the footage projected on a nearby skyscraper. What have you done?" Amira stepped closer, her voice steady. "I turned your own network against you. Every crime you tried to hide is live streaming to the world as we speak. Your empire is crumbling." Victor roared and lunged at her, but she sidestepped, using his momentum to send him sprawling to the ground. Michael rushed to her side, weapon aimed, while Samuel kicked Victor's gun away. Police helicopters circled above, spotlights flooding the rooftop. Sirens wailed as SWAT teams stormed the building. Officers surrounded Victor, forcing him to his knees. He glared up at Amira as they handcuffed him. "This isn't the end. You'll regret crossing me." She looked down at him, her eyes cold. "No, Victor. You'll regret crossing me." Hours later, as dawn broke over Atlanta, Victor was taken into custody, his empire in shambles. The syndicate's network collapsed overnight, as international authorities raided their operations worldwide. Back at the hotel, Amira stood by the window watching the sunrise. For the first time in weeks, she felt at peace. Michael approached quietly. "It's over," he said softly. She turned to him, a small smile playing on her lips. "Yes, it's over." Samuel entered the room, bruised but smiling. "You've done what no one else dared. The syndicate is finished." Ryan clapped her on the shoulder. "You didn't just survive, Amira. You won." Amira exhaled, letting the weight of the past weeks finally lift from her shoulders. "No," she said softly. "We won." Michael met her gaze, and for the first time there was no fear, no doubt, only hope. 3 weeks later, back in Lagos, Amira stood before a cheering crowd at a charity event she organized to help victims of corruption and violence. Cameras flashed, capturing her radiant presence. She addressed the audience, her voice strong and inspiring. "They tried to break me. They tried to silence me. But instead they taught me how powerful I really am, and now I'll use that power to protect others who can't protect themselves." The crowd erupted in applause. Michael stood in the front row, smiling proudly. Ryan and her parents watched with pride as she took her rightful place, not just as an heiress, but as a leader. Final scene. Later that night, Amira walked onto her balcony, the Lagos skyline glowing in the distance. Michael joined her, slipping his hand into hers. "Do you think it's truly over?" he asked. Amira gazed at the stars, her lips curving into a determined smile. "For now. But if another storm comes, I'll be ready." The camera panned out, the city lights shimmering like a promise of endless possibilities. What would you do if you were Amira, standing victorious after taking down everyone who tried to destroy you? And where are you watching from?